Hi, everyone. Welcome to Science Buffs, the ultimate. I can't do.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Science Buffs, the ultimate podcast for STEM enthusiasts. I'm Sam.
And I'm Abby.
And today we're going to be talking about something super fun. And I'm biased because it's my topic. But, Abby, what is new with you?
Well, we were just discussing before we started recording that I have no life updates at all. And the only thing I could talk about was like a flat tire I got last week. Um, but I'll spare you the details. It's getting fixed tomorrow, so everything else
It's
is
still
just pretty
not
calm.
fixed.
No, I had to go through, like, I went in. Apparently, they don't have my tires at the place that I went to. So I had to order them myself. I was like, "Can you just order them?" They're like, "No, we can't. We got to have you order them and ship them here." So that took like a week, and it's getting fixed tomorrow morning. So I've been going crazy because I usually like to leave the house once a day. Now that I don't have a job, I'm like, I need to leave and see some civilization once a day, and I don't want to drive on my spare tire, so I've just been sitting around the house
I
with
suddenly
the baby.
understand your I suddenly understand your text from yesterday where you're like, I need to get out and play trivia.
Oh,
Where
oh
can
my
I play
gosh. Oh
trivia?
yeah, that's a life update. I have been desperate for a trivia night, like in an unreal sense. I found that we have a Disney trivia Trivial Pursuit game, and I made my husband play it with me. It's like I'm so desperate for trivia, but I can't go out. There's no one that's around that will do trivia with me. So I made him play.
That's
He got on
amazing.
board and he liked it, and then he beat me. So, but that's okay.
He beat you at Disney trivia?
Yes,
Oh,
he
I'm gonna
did.
need
Now,
to
to be
take him down.
fair, I think I kind of like overcompensated because I thought he was going to lose. So then I ended up giving him some hints on some of the wedges that he got. Like, I'm not very good at hints. I gave him way too obvious of hints, and he's like, "Why did you tell me that? It's obviously this." So I don't think he would have won normally, but you know, some of them are hard though. There's like a lot of obscure Disney things that I've never seen or heard of.
Interesting.
And he has a better memory with that than me anyway. Like he remembers kind of random facts about Disney. So I don't know, but I lost. But I got to play. So that's good.
That's wild.
Yeah, what about
But
you?
sounds like fun. Not a lot is new. I went
We're so
to an Avs
exciting.
game. Yeah, I did go to an Avalanche game last weekend. That was fun. The Avalanche destroyed. Don't ask me who they played.
They
I don't
did?
remember.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I was
it was
just
like
my
five
follow-up
to
question was
one.
who?
Yeah, I don't remember, but it
Wow,
was
five
like
to one's
five to
really
one.
good. I
Can you
think
tell I'm a
I
diehard
think we're
Avs
supposed to be
fan?
good again.
Yeah.
We were
Was it last year we won the Stanley Cup?
I was just about to ask you.
I think it was 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was
Well, it's
awesome.
2024 now.
Oh my
So maybe
God.
2 years ago.
No way. Okay, so crazy story, real quick, by the way. I do have a life update. It's not really a life update, but it's crazy. So I
Okay.
went and I got my nails done today.
Okay.
Sitting next to me was my high school AP lit teacher.
Wow. Did they remember you? Did she remember you?
She does, but it's so funny because I couldn't do basic math. She remembered me and everyone who was in my class. She has a crazy memory.
Wow.
Um, I know, and she's still a teacher, so she's had so many students since
Dang.
me.
That's
And I
impressive.
couldn't remember the year I graduated. She was
Oh,
like, I was like, I think like 10 years ago. She goes, 2013, like 2024 minus
oh.
2013 is 11 years. So I'm like,
Did she
oh,
remember that
that
you
makes sense.
graduated in 2013?
Her guess was 2014. She's like, 2014, I think. And I was like,
Oh
oh, that's
my
pretty close.
gosh.
Yeah,
Wow, that's really impressive. I feel like as a teacher, you just know everyone. I would not be able to keep that straight.
I know. It was wild. But yeah, shout out to my AP Lit teacher in high school.
Hey, if you're listening to this, you rock.
Yes.
Well, that's fun. You went to
Okay.
an Avs game. Those are always good.
Yes, it was fun. All right, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The first clue is it has to do with aerodynamics.
Okay. Um, a plane.
That sounded so excited. A plane.
Well, that's just such a lame guess because I know you're just not
An
gonna do a
airplane.
plane in general, So it's just like I know I got it wrong. So I'm sad about that. It's like getting a trivia answer wrong.
Okay, the second one.
Okay.
Moving past that disappointing guess. It has historical significance.
Okay. Let me
That's a
think.
pretty lame one.
Aerodynamics, historical significance. The history of the F of a plane, of a specific plane.
No.
Okay.
Okay. And number three, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
Oh, the first flight.
Yes, the Wright Flyer.
Wow, that's gonna be awesome.
Woo-hoo.
That was so what a
Yeah,
plane in
it
a
was a
way.
plane. I guess, yes. All Wright
I shouldn't have been
Flyers
so
are
disappointed.
airplanes.
I shouldn't have been so disappointed in myself.
Yeah, if you guessed like ship or something, I would have been really disappointed.
Well, I thought you were kind of doing something tricky, like aerodynamics, but it's really like, you know, the aerodynamics of a diver or something. I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
Something
Okay,
fancy.
no, that was good. That was good. Okay. So we're going to talk about the Wright Flyer today.
Cool.
So, um I chose this topic because I took a class in college on like aviation history
Okay.
and I loved it. And then also I've been to Kitty Hawk, which we're going to talk about the significance of Kitty
Really? That's
Hawk,
cool.
North Carolina. And I've also seen the Wright Flyer in person at the Smithsonian.
I feel like you've seen
Again,
every plane. Literally, you've seen every
Sam
plane.
has seen a lot of planes.
Yeah. You should do
So
like on our Instagram, Sam's tour of planes she's seen.
I
It's,
should search, like, on your phone, I think you can search by object, like pictures. If
yeah,
I
just take a
searched
screenshot
plane,
of that and post it to our stories. We have to see how many planes you have on your phone.
it's a lot. Um, yeah, so anywho, a lot of my sources are from the Smithsonian because
Okay,
that is where it currently is and it has a lot of great material on it.
great.
There's only one technical like Wright Flyer,
Okay.
but to give a little bit of a summary, the Wright brothers, Orville and Will, inaugurated the aerial age with the world's first successful flights of a powered heavier than air flying machine. So the Wright Flyer, specifically the aircraft we're talking about, was the
I have
product
a
of a No, you go ahead.
sorry, say it again. I thought you were done with the sentence for a second. Did it call him Will in the article?
No, it says William, but I just like
Isn't it
it doesn't.
Wilbur? Like, Orville and Will.
We're cutting that out. Wilbur. Okay, Wilbur
Anyway,
and
sorry. Just
Orville
start just
Wright.
start that sentence maybe again
Okay,
if you
okay.
want it to be cut out.
Starting over, but please
Okay.
send me that clip. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Wilbur and Orville Wright spent 4 years of research and development to create the first successful powered airplane, the 1903 Wright Flyer. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Perfect.
Um, the Wright Flyer was, like I said, the product of a sophisticated, this specifically says, 4 year program of research and development conducted by the brothers beginning in 1899.
Oh wow.
After
Okay.
building and testing 3 full-size gliders, and so a glider is not powered, and you're going to hear that term a lot. The Wrights' first powered airplane flew at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Do you remember what year?
1903.
Yeah, you did the math.
Woo. That's like for some
1903.
reason a date that sticks in my head often. I don't know why. Like first flight
Yeah.
1903. It's
You
the
know
one I
what's
can
crazy
get.
to me is I often think about how we literally went from this, like the very basic technology,
Yeah.
to, you know, what we have today and like F-35s and
It's
stealth aircraft
insane.
in like 120 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't really comprehend that because then the first, before that we went whatever over 1900 years with nothing
Yeah.
without it. That's just crazy.
It's crazy.
I'm glad we live in this era though, so we can fly places, but
Yes, me too.
yeah.
And I picked this one also because I know that you, like me, maybe lean a little bit more towards interest in aviation over space, even though we both have an aerospace engineering degree.
Yes. The
So,
math is much harder, in my
yes,
opinion, so that was discouraging
yes.
in school.
Um, okay, so do you know how long the first flight was?
Okay, I want to say it's like 12 seconds.
12 seconds. Yep.
Let's go.
That's amazing. You remember that.
I think
Great
I
job.
just read about this. I must have just read about this like a
Do you
month or
know
two
how
ago.
far it went?
Oh, it was like not even a football field, was it? Wasn't it?
120 feet. I don't know how
Okay,
many
let's
feet is a
go.
football field.
300 or something, 100
Yeah.
yards.
Do you remember
That's
which brother was
pretty good.
piloting?
Oh, okay. No, I don't, but I'm gonna guess. Wilbur.
Orville.
Dang it.
I know. The best flight of the day, though, was with Wilbur at the controls, and he covered 255 meters, which is 852 feet.
That's my boy Wilbur. That's my boy William.
Wilbur.
That's my Will.
The Wright brothers pioneered many of the basic tenets and techniques of modern aeronautical engineering. So, for those that don't know, aeronautical engineering is the study of aviation engineering, specifically aerospace, which Abby and I talk about frequently, is the study of both aeronautical and space engineering. So, just a little bit of background. But a big thing that they invented and that we still use today is the invention of the wind tunnel and flight testing. So, testing before you actually build what you're going to build and fly it. And this was not only the breakthrough first flight of an airplane, but also equally important in establishing the foundation of aeronautical engineering. So, that's a little bit of an overview.
Very cool.
Um, So, during the Wright's design and construction of their experimental aircraft, they also pioneered many of the basic tenets and techniques for, like I said, modern aeronautical engineering. And, oh, hold on. Let me go back. We might have to cut that part out.
It's
I
okay. We
clicked on
can
the
cut this
wrong
part
one.
out because we have got to keep in the William part.
You can keep it in.
It's just
Everyone's going to
so
make
fun. It's
fun of me.
so good.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 10 fun facts about the Wright brothers
Ooh,
leading
okay.
up to this. So it's kind of interesting. It's not specifically STEM, but I've always found these two interesting. And my mom's gonna laugh at me, but have you seen Drunk History?
Yes, I have.
So they do an episode on this one,
Oh,
and
I'm gonna have
it's
to go
my
watch that.
favorite one. And
Okay, I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Jenna Fisher, who plays Pam in The Office, is in this one.
No way,
It's
that's
really
like your
good.
perfect, that's like your dream episode.
It's
That's
really good.
funny.
Yeah, so I knew some of these facts because of Drunk History.
Okay, great. It's very informative, actually.
It is, yeah. Okay, so number one, the Wright brothers were raised and lived most of their lives in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
And the family briefly moved to Iowa and then Richmond, and before returning to Dayton. And they lived the rest of their lives in Dayton. Another fun fact is thanks to a coin toss, Orville was the first brother airborne. So your man Wilbur lost out.
Oh man, sad.
But the brothers tossed a coin to see who would first test the Wright flyer on the sands of Kill Devil Hills in North Carolina. Older brother Wilbur won the toss, but his first attempt failed. Orville went second and actually managed to fly. So that even
Oh,
though Orville
he's
lost the
even though
toss,
he
he
won, he
still goes down in
still lost.
history. Yeah.
Darn.
So, what got the brothers into flying? So, a toy launched their flying obsession. So, their dad actually, or their father, as they probably called him in the 1800s,
Oh,
instead of daddy-o,
Daddy.
um, brought them a present in like 1878 that was essentially like a little toy helicopter that kind of like launched. I mean, it wasn't a real helicopter, but it kind of
Right.
had the aerodynamics of a helicopter that really made them excited about aviation. Another interesting fact, this one I think is very cool is neither brother received a high school diploma or got married. It's
Really?
interesting. Yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
Yeah, that is. They were too focused on their planes to focus on any women.
Makes
That is
sense.
crazy though.
Okay.
I did think that I definitely thought they both got married, but I guess
I
not.
remember that from drunk history, actually.
Oh, really?
That was one of the facts that's in there. Yeah.
You're like, I know
Oh,
this because of
yeah.
Pam.
Pam. Yeah. The Wright brothers once printed a daily newspaper together in 1889. They started a newspaper printing business, publishing a weekly and later a daily newspaper. They even designed and built their own printing press in 1892. They opened a bicycle repair shop to capitalize on the nation's obsession with bicycles at that point in time.
That's funny. They're very
They,
entrepreneurial.
yes, and I found this interesting from an engineering front that they even designed their own bicycles with custom engineering features that are still in use today, like
Oh,
oil
wow.
retaining wheel hubs and coaster brakes.
Wow. That's cool.
All right, how much do you think the Wright Flyer cost
Like
to
back in the
build?
day,
Yeah.
I have no concept of money back then. Okay, let me think. $11. Oh
$1,000.
my gosh.
That's actually worse than what my I had my parents guess, and they said like $20.
I was like, well, $1 back then is probably like 1,000 now, and it's just like some wood.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that was a bad guess.
Okay. Here's another fact. Moving on.
Okay, that was horrible. Oh, because it was like powered, right?
Yeah.
I bet their
Be-
gliders are more like $11, and that's kind of what I was thinking of.
Take the engine out and it's cheap.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
just
god.
wood and some canvas, probably. Like
It
$11 is it.
doesn't give me the cost breakdown, or I would give you more information.
Engine, $989. Frame, 11.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Okay.
sorry, that was bad guess. Continue.
Okay, so this one astounded me, this next fact. So after the first day airborne in 1903, the Wright Flyer never flew again. So the brothers made four
What?
flights in the Wright Flyer on that day. And as Orville and Wilbur stood discussing I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. As
Oh
Orville
no.
and Wilbur stood discussing the final flight, a sudden strong gust of wind caught hold of the aircraft and flipped it several times.
Oh no.
The aircraft sustained such heavy damage to its ribs, motor, and chain guides that it was beyond repair.
No.
Can you imagine, like, you worked for 4 years and you look away for 5 minutes and it's just destroyed?
They're like, so on the last flight, really try to get up at the right angle. They just
Oh my
look over,
God.
it's tumbling down the beach.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Oh.
Um, okay, and my favorite fact, which I had never heard this before, and I wrote wow next to my notes. um, Neil Armstrong carried a piece of the Wright Flyer with him to the moon.
Whoa,
So,
that's
yeah,
cool.
I didn't know that. So, when another aeronautical pioneer from Ohio, Neil Armstrong, became the first man to step foot on the moon in 1969, inside his spacesuit pocket was a piece of the muslin fabric from the left wing of the original 1903 Wright Flyer, along with a piece of wood from the airplane's left propeller.
Oh my, I'm sorry, I'll cut that out. That is crazy.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
pretty
wonder how
wild.
so you said they have the original Wright Flyer in the Smithsonian, right? Does it
Yes,
have the damage that it sustained, or did they like repair it? Do you
I
know?
think it says on this article. It's the original one. I'm sure that from what I remember, it looked like intact. So I'm sure they had to do
Yeah,
some type of repair on it.
right.
Yeah, I don't see any notes on
I
it, but
imagine they wouldn't just put the broken one.
yeah, that actually reminds me. So some stats on the Wright Flyer. It has a wingspan of 12.3 meters, which is 40 feet.
Okay.
Length is 6.4 meters, height 2.8 meters. Its weight was about 605 pounds.
Wow.
And yeah, it was composed of or made of the airframe was wood, the fabric covering was muslin, which I mentioned, and
Okay.
the engine crankcase was aluminum. So those
Hmm.
are the three primary materials.
Okay.
So that's some interesting facts
I
about the Wright
wonder
Flyer.
I wonder how devastated they were when it like started blowing away because I wonder if they just figured like at some point during today it's gonna get destroyed, probably. There was a pretty good
Yeah,
chance, I would think.
yeah, I was pretty honestly, I was surprised when I did go to Kitty Hawk at kind of how big the hill is. I would probably look at
Mm.
that and be like, this could go very poorly.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of cool at Kitty Hawk. They have stones that denote how far each flight went. So you can
That's
see
cool.
it's kind of neat. Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
That would
Yeah.
be really scary if it is like a high hill and you just were like, well, let's try just flying off of this thing, seeing if we float at all.
Let's
That'd be
go.
terrifying. These early inventors, I swear, they had
I
like
know.
no fear. I don't get how they do that.
The one other interesting fact I read was their father specifically asked them, please don't fly at the same time because I don't want to lose both of my sons in an accident.
Oh
So
gosh.
they only flew together like one time, but specifically they would never fly together because they knew it was dangerous.
Well, that's probably a smart call,
Yeah.
but a little grim.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get into the deep dive a little bit about the Wright Flyer.
Okay.
So the Wrights' success was rooted in their inventive method, their specific research techniques, innate skills, and personality traits, the Smithsonian notes, came together in a unique way and largely explain why they succeeded and so many others failed. So it was
Hmm.
kind of interesting. In 1899, Wilbur Wright wrote to the Smithsonian declaring his belief that human flight was possible, and he asked for any publications that the Smithsonian currently had on aviation research.
Mm. Okay.
And so they sent some to him, which I thought was interesting. So, after collecting some reference material from the Smithsonian and some other sources, the Wright brothers began studying their predecessors. Which, do you remember? Um, Otto Lilienthal was one of his
Yes.
predecessors.
I yes, I think so.
Yeah, so he was a predecessor, so they studied that him as well. I'm trying to find notes. He was into gliders, but I actually think he passed away from an accident, a glider
Yeah,
accident.
I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Didn't they also do some, I don't know if it was Otto or the Wright brothers, but I feel like did they go through a phase of doing hot air balloon stuff?
that was
Or was that someone
before the
else? Okay.
gliders. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we learned this in our aerodynamics class. Remember we
Hmm.
did that whole history
Yeah.
section at the beginning?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so after researching their predecessors, the Wright brothers decided to follow aeronautical experiments. This fancy guy named Sir George Cayley
Hmm.
led and reduced obstacles to flight to three broad categories. The first one being a set of lifting surfaces, or what we call wings. The
Okay.
second is a method of balancing and controlling the aircraft, so control surfaces. And three is propulsion.
Okay.
So the very first thing that the Wright brothers built was what they called the Wright kite in 1899. So less than 3 months after they got that research information from the Smithsonian, the Wright brothers had defined some requirements for a heavier than air flying machine and successfully built and tested a kite that incorporated many of these design features and requirements
Hmm.
that they had made. Um, so they essentially not discovered, but invented what they call wing warping.
Okay.
So the Wrights knew that a pilot needed to control the lateral movement of the aircraft balancing the wings, which we now know as called roll, or we call roll,
Hmm.
um, for both balance and turning. And they were able to demonstrate this with their kite. So they were able to control its roll by bending the wings in the way that they needed to.
Okay. Cool.
Do you remember wing warping?
Uh, yeah. A little bit.
You're like, no.
There's just so much of what we learned in college that I just have blocked out or forgotten. You're like, remember the history section? I'm like, mm-hmm.
Mhm, yeah. Yeah. So, no photographs exist of that specific height. That's interesting.
Huh.
I didn't realize
That is
that before.
interesting.
So 1 year later, in 1900, they developed a glider. So the Wrights next began to study aerodynamics and structures in preparation for building their first glider. It was one thing to design a set of wings for a small kite, and then quite another to build one large enough to hold a person and launch
Yeah.
itself into the air.
That makes sense.
So at this point, they started trying to understand pitch control. So pitch is the up and down, the nose up and down motion, while what we talked about previous was roll, which is right left motion. Um, yeah. So they discovered or started trying to assess lift and what we now know as the center of pressure, and controlling the center of pressure, and what wing shape was ideal for their control surfaces.
Okay.
Oh, so here's where I'm going to talk about Otto Lilienthal. So, the famous Lilienthal table. Otto Lilienthal was an engineer who was into gliders. And like we mentioned, he passed away from a glider accident. But he had developed a table based off of lift and drag characteristics. And it was based off of a single airfoil of his own research, and it's essentially served as a starting point for many experiments, including Wilbur and Orville Wright, um, and essentially help them define coefficients of lift and drag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a big thing. Also, I remember seeing at Kitty Hawk was they have an actual book that Wilbur and Orville wrote from their tests in wind tunnels on deriving
Mm.
based off angle of attack, coefficients of lift, and coefficients of drag.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gosh, I can't believe they figured that out. That's
isn't that
so
crazy?
impressive. I could barely learn it when someone else had it figured out and then taught me. And they
Yeah,
like figured it out first.
yeah, I know it's pretty wild. So, another thing that I geek out about is the wind tunnel. So, I loved in college when we did wind tunnel experiments,
Yes,
but
those are so fun.
yeah, so I wanted to talk about that here. So, in addition to building the world's first airplane, the Wright brothers pioneered the modern practice of aeronautical engineering, as we mentioned before, and central to this was the design of the wind tunnel. So their 1903 powered airplane and their wind tunnel should be seen together as the product of Wright's invention of flight technology. So
Mm,
previous experimenters had used wind tunnels, but Wilbur and Orville were the first to use one to generate specific data that could be used in the
mm.
design of aircraft. So actually recording the results mathematically and tracking
Wow.
um, different
Cool.
aspects, yeah, of aerodynamics. Um, yes, so I have to scroll farther down. So another thing is making propellers, the propellers that they needed for their aircraft. So one of the
Oh
most
yeah.
innovative aspects of the Wright Flyer was its propellers. So they decided to treat the propeller as if it were a rotary wing. So
Hmm.
they reasoned that the same physics that generated an upward force, which we call lift, on a curved surface in a flow of air would also produce a horizontal force, which we call thrust, when such a surface was positioned vertically and rotated to create the airflow.
Oh, so that was like harkening back to their helicopter days of like,
Yes,
oh, if we
there
put it this other way, we can make thrust.
then we'll be good to go. Yeah. So that's a big one. I think that in the future, it would be cool to. I'm gonna do an episode on like the evolution of the engine or aviation engine. So I'm not gonna talk about that much here, but
Pretty cool.
because
I
I think that would
definitely want to
be,
learn about that.
yeah. So I'm gonna save that for a future episode. But those are some fun facts about
Okay.
the Wright Flyer. My brain stopped working for 5 seconds.
About,
I was like,
I just can't get over how like these people that we learn about how smart they are. Like it's amazing. When you just like have no baseline, now if you're like, oh, design a plane, we know what a plane looks like. They designed a plane without knowing what, you know, they had
It's
to like
crazy.
they had to like discover all the math. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
fascinating.
I think doing the iterative process too of like actually testing something in a wind tunnel and then
Yeah,
being able to track like you're moving your angle of attack by a degree, a degree, a degree, and you're
right.
able to actually track output at that time
Yeah.
so precisely
They're
where
very
you define
methodical
like,
about it.
yeah.
Now, do you think you would have liked to hang out with Wilbur and Orville? Do you think they were like cool, or do you think they were so, nerdy that it would have
I
been tough?
wonder,
That's what
I'm
I'm
gonna say
curious
that there's
about.
probably a reason that
That they didn't
nope,
get
I'm not
married.
gonna.
Well, they were so focused, but like, were they so focused and just like antisocial?
Yeah, I don't know. I should look up like a psychoanalyst, psychoanalysis of Wilbur and Orville.
Okay, have you ever done those questions that make you like fall in love, or have you seen those?
No.
Okay, I think it was like a New York Times thing that was like 36 questions that you should ask someone and you'll fall in love or whatever, or get closer. Anyway, one of them, I did it with my husband like when we were dating, and one of them is dead or alive, who would you want to go on a dinner to dinner with, to talk to? And every time I learned about someone cool, I'm like, no, I think that would be my dinner guy. I'm like, now I want it to be Wilbur and Orville because I want to see what they're
Just
like.
combined as one. Because they're
Yeah.
brothers, it counts as one.
Yeah, it counts. They're always referenced together.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I just wonder what their personalities were like. They're just so smart that it's crazy.
I would
So
I would have dinner with Steve Carell.
really, that's your number one.
He's so funny.
It would be a fun dinner, I think.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Everyone drop a comment of who your dinner date would be. Dead or alive. Who do you want to talk to? Anyway,
And for more information on the Wright brothers, go watch Drunk History.
yes. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do that as soon as we log off.
Yes.
We have 1
Well,
minute.
thank you everyone for listening to this week's podcast.
Yes. Make sure to make sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate us, all the great things. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.